The hype is already building for a new snow signal showing up on models for the end of this week. This comes as cooler than average air is going to allow for these setups to continue deeper into January. This video has the full breakdown on everything you need to know in the next 8 minutes. Thank you very much for taking time to tune into this quick update on what is coming with the next snow signal and all of the cool air that is on the way as we go into the week ahead. Of course, there's been a lot of discussion going on, and that includes my most recent several videos and live streams here on the channel talking about the winter storm ongoing into parts of the central and eastern US. But for now, I want to jump past this winter storm and go into the pattern ahead for the rest of this week using your GFS ensembles, which is basically like a collection of models being averaged out to give you a look at where generally some different types of precipitation are anticipated as we push forward. In this case, stopping it as we go into the afternoon of our Tuesday, January 7th of 2025. Still feels weird saying 2025 instead of 2024, but here we are with, for now, an overall drier than average pattern. You see all of those various H's down through parts of the central and eastern United States indicating cold high pressure as well below average temperatures are sinking down anywhere from the north central plains to the Mississippi Valley all the way over to the east coast as we go into the early to the mid part of this week behind our winter storm pushing off the east coast in the close range. Beyond that time frame, though, as we go out of our Tuesday, January 7th into Wednesday, January 8th, and then into our Thursday, January 9th, that's when it looks like we're going to see some energy cutting down out of the Rockies where we could get a little bit of snow as well as into the Four Corners, then sinking right on down here into the south central United States. According to these GFS ensembles, that's going to form some sort of system right in here in Texas, Oklahoma, into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi as early as around our Thursday throughout the daytime, especially ramping up as we go towards the afternoon and evening. Right now, these GFS ensembles have a pretty far southern snow track out of this particular system, with snow as far south here as central Texas, maybe even with at least some wintry mix into parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. So this goes to show that this next storm, with all the cool air that's in place, and generally how quickly it is following behind by just a few days, our most recent winter storm going off the east coast, it's going to have some cool air to work with, and it's going to be something to watch even as it pushes through to the east as we go out of Thursday into our Friday. Here's what these GFS ensembles in particular are showing as we go through the day on our Friday, January 10th. Notice you can see this general system pushing east, giving you a good look at where we're going to be seeing rain. You can still bet on rain, probably not much of a wintry weather threat down here as you come right along the I-10 corridor and along the Gulf Coast. But as you push into the northern part of some of these Gulf Coast states like Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia, even the western Carolinas, it looks like we could see some ice, some sleet, and maybe even a transition to snow pretty quickly on the north side of that rain and the cold pocket of air still sticking around this Friday time frame. Better chance for more uninterrupted snow being indicated by the GFS ensembles to come on up here somewhere through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and into the central Appalachians. From there, this new snow signal looks like it's going to propagate off to the east. By the time we go through the day Saturday, January 11th, this is where some of the members of our GFS ensembles, and we've seen it on the GFS model alone by itself at times as well, have indicated some stronger low pressure trying to develop right off the coast. Could that feed a bigger snowstorm somewhere here as we get that nor'easter-like wind flow right along the east coast of the U.S.? Wouldn't fully rule that out, but either way, it looks like something's coming to the mid-Atlantic and northeast based on the snow signal for sometime around Saturday, January 11th. And then from there, by the time we go through Sunday and beyond, it's on to the next system if we have another one, as we kind of track things out further down the line as that one pushes offshore. Now that we've looked at your GFS ensembles, let's give you a brief look here at your European ensembles, a different collection of model-like outputs being averaged out so that you can see where the best chances of 24-hour snowfall zones are going to be as we push deeper into the week and towards the upcoming weekend. Here we go as we go out of our Tuesday, January 7th into Wednesday, January 8th, and there we go. Through Thursday and into the early to midday point of our Friday, we see a little bit of some snowfall energy pushing out of parts of the Four Corners region, but then especially getting heavier right as you come down here into parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, really looking like a bullseye that's increasing in confidence not only with your GFS guidance, but also your European guidance for somewhere in here to see a heavy stripe of snow as we go to the end of this week and those last couple of days of the work week. Beyond that point in time, European ensembles, do they follow that same track? Let's see if there's some pretty good confidence. Yeah, a very similar scenario there to what your GFS ensembles were showing, with that far northern extreme for some moderate snowfall, at least on up here into parts of Illinois, Indiana, and as far to the north as southeast Michigan. Your southern extreme through the central and northern parts of even some of these Gulf Coast and southeast states like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Best chance for heavy snow is going to go somewhere right in between and pushing on up here into the central Appalachians as we go somewhere around Friday into Saturday, roughly. And then look at that. These same ensembles also bring maybe a brief heavier snow somewhere along the east coast as indicated by those grays. That's pretty good confidence for this far out. So we're really seeing a pretty good signal, and this is good to see as we move beyond a system that had a lot of questions just recently. With that being said, I'll talk more in detail with some custom graphics as well to come on that snowstorm that's coming as we go deeper in this week. That will be in a future video. But for now, to keep this video update short, I do want to give you an update on some of the high and low temperatures forecasted as we go into the days and the week ahead, as a very cold pattern is going to be favorable for that more southerly snow track with our next system, as Gulf of Mexico moisture is going to be very close to the Gulf of Mexico, not able to move too far north as this really cold and dry pattern is setting up through the week. Here we go, starting off with your low temperatures as forecasted by the National Digital Forecast Database into Monday, January 6th. Notice that big jet stream dip that's really bringing our winter storm and is going to help it finish off on up here into the mid-Atlantic into our Monday, really bringing some of those coolest temperatures for nighttime lows here into the Monday early time frame, with 0 to even below 0 digits into parts of the north central plains, including Kansas, Nebraska, into the Dakotas, Minnesota. That's going to be a theme all week long with teens and 20s, even as you go further south from there. Here we go into our Monday afternoon. Teens and 20s only being the forecast high up here into Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and these north central states. Same goes with some 20s over into the Ohio Valley and Northeast. It's a little bit milder, but this is still well below average for this time of the year, with 30s and 40s as far south down here as Texas, Louisiana, into Mississippi and Alabama, setting the stage with all this cold dry air in place for now. Once we get a little bit more of that moisture lifting north by the end of the week, you're golden for that snowstorm potential here, and then eventually pushing to the north and east. Let's skip ahead here into the Tuesday morning time frame, where it looks like another chilly one across a lot of the U.S., especially if you're north of this line, where a lot of teens and single digits, and some teens and single digits on the other side of 0 are going to be anticipated, as we see some negative numbers, maybe even as far south as Kansas and Missouri during this morning. As we go into our Tuesday afternoon, more teens, more 20s through the north central U.S., more 20s into the Great Lakes, Indiana, Ohio, into Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, you name it. We've got 20s and even some higher elevation teens up there. By the time we go into our Wednesday morning, this is going to be one of the chillier ones, even starting to extend a little bit further south here through parts of the central Rockies, coming down here as far south as the Kansas border with Oklahoma, the Missouri border with Arkansas, and over there into the Ohio Valley. Look at this. Single digits anywhere north of that line pretty much, and especially as you go due north of that line there through the north central plains. By the time we go into our Wednesday afternoon, more of that cold, and especially with your jet stream dip here coming right through the Rockies and then down into the eastern U.S., you can see we're a little bit milder back over there towards California, where we've got 50s and 60s for highs Wednesday. But other than Florida, that's the only spot in the 50s and 60s during that time frame. Not even Texas seeing those kinds of numbers Wednesday. And then look at the setup here as we begin our next winter storm, possibly by the time we go into our Thursday morning. We've got 20s in advance of this down here into the mid-south. Plenty cold enough for this kind of system. And temperatures are in the single digits all the way to Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and into your northeast. One of the chilliest mornings we're going to see all week up there. Really prime pattern for snow if you can get any moisture into it. And the highs on Thursday are in the 20s and 30s pretty much for the entire eastern U.S. But with that being said, that leads me into the recap for this shorter video. Of course, there is a big winter storm that's continuing as I'm recording this. It's going to move out by Tuesday out of parts of the mid-Atlantic, and that sets the stage for what I discussed in this video. The next winter storm, as the colder pattern continues, as I mentioned down there in that bottom headline with the wintry setup, it looks like this next winter storm is going to have pretty decent potential, especially if more moisture can get pumping northward by Thursday into Friday and Saturday as it moves east. I'll keep you updated on it with more of my custom graphics as well, like I've done on this last winter storm. That will probably be in the next update video. Subscribe below so that you never miss the consistent, accurate, and educational forecasts that I deliver here, and check out the weather bell trial link below in the description for the model maps I use. But I'll see you next time. That's it.
One nation weather.